Hello and welcome to the Critically Clueless. I'm the Monk and today we are in Crusader Kings 3. This is for the console. We're doing a beginner's guide and today's video is going to be all about alliances. Now I've been asked about alliances a few times within the channel. I have an active and growing Discord, so I think it's also been mentioned in there. If you guys fancy joining and talking about your issues or just sharing your stories, the link for the Discord will be down in the description. But I've been asked about alliances a few times, so I figured I would get together and put up a video kind of talking about all the different things that I think is relevant to alliances and what they mean, the smaller parts of an alliance, and of course what leading into the bigger parts as well. Hopefully I can cover everything in one video. Hopefully it's not too long as well. Unfortunately, with Crusader Kings 3, it's a massive game. It is a huge game, and these videos can take a little while to kind of cover everything enough. If I glaze over anything a little bit too quickly and don't explain it enough for you, let me know down in the comments. I'll be glad to either, reply back to you or possibly even make another video talking about a thing that you have asked. Anyway, let's kind of get into this video, but before we do, if you are interested in Crusader Kings content, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Every video I do is for console players. I'm sure a lot of this will relate to PC players as well, so if you are a PC player, you may find something you like, but this is for console players as not a lot of people are covering that. So if that's what you're looking for, you found the channel for you. Anyway, let's get stuck into the video and talking about alliances and just why I think alliances are so important. Now, as you can see, I currently have 10 alliances. 10 alliances right here. And I think alliances are so important, especially when you're starting off the game. I've heard quite a few people talking about choosing, whoever they choose within the game, and they just get wrecked within their first lifestyle, and they're struggling to actually expand and stop people constantly attacking them. The thing about alliances is that when you are in an alliance through marriage, through whatever means you're in the alliance for, but whenever you have allies, anyone going to attack you immediately is aware of your alliance power, because if they attack you, you then have the ability to draw in from your alliances and help, get them to help you win the wars. It's quite simple. If I was to, for instance, target these guys down here. Oh, they are too far away, so let's not target them. How about these? Still too far away. There's a reason why I'm not going for this is because he's a dynasty member. But let's say for argument's sake, I was to declare a war here. You can see that, the difference between my power and his power. Yes, he is inferior to me. That's because we have, we're very big kingdoms. I also have 9 allies. He happens to be one of my allies, which is why my alliance has dropped to 9. And he has an alliance as well. But he's going to take in my combined alliance power completely. So he's not going to attack me. Forget the fact that he's a dynasty member. He doesn't want to attack me because I've got 44,000 troops going up against his 28,000 troops. So being within an alliance and having those alliances in place kind of deters other people from wanting to attack you in the first place. Now, if you actually have a look, I started out as the little Duke here, or yeah, I think it was here. I think I was the Duke of Dorset. That's when I started out. I think this is a particularly difficult playthrough. You end up inheriting Wessex and you then have to, try and take over England and that kind of playthrough. If I hadn't have got alliances at the beginning of my game, I would have been squashed. I mean, I believe this is the 867 starting point, and it's when you've got the Sons of Ragnar waging the wars with like 5,000 troops. Right at the beginning of the game, it's quite intimidating to start in as Wessex. And if the first thing I do isn't get an alliance, even after managing to win that war, everyone's going to be looking to attack me because I'm just, insignificant Wessex, have no real power. You don't have many troops. But getting in an alliance, getting alliances through marriage being, the first way you're able to actually do it, can seriously save your game. So I'd highly recommend seeking out alliances at the beginning of the game when you very first unpause the game. There's so much that you can do before you unpause the game, but alliances can seriously save you, especially early on and moving into this stage now where I am a decent size empire. I have 23,000 troops on my own, which is a respectable sum, and not many people are going to be wanting to go up against me. But because I have an extended family, because I have an extended alliance, we bump up to 44,000, which is just pretty much, I think, probably the biggest superpower on the map currently. But anyway, alliances. There are different types of alliance. For instance, if I was to find, let's go to my siblings, kid. I believe this one here, he's within my court. He's completely unlanded. And if I give him a title, let's see if I can actually give him a title. Have I got one to give him? I do. Let's give him the Earldom of Kent, for instance. There we go. So now he is a landed vassal. He's a vassal within my kingdom. And where did he go? I pressed back too many times. There he is. I should have an option then to create an alliance with him. I don't right now. But if I was to be able to create an alliance with him, what it would mean is that he wouldn't be able to join factions against me. If we have a little look-see, we have factions. And these are the first kind of small alliances that you can make, kind of in-kingdom alliances. And anyone that's, for instance, my son, this being a prime subject, I think I have 3 sons that are currently... Let's have a look. Yes, I have 3 sons that are currently, or queens that are holding decent titles. I have an alliance with them, and therefore they can't go up against me. They can't enter another faction within my kingdom against me. Also, if you are underage, you can't, and if you're imprisoned, you can't. If you've also been in a faction and you've defeated that faction, you can't be in a faction against you. So managing those kind of in-realm alliances are quite important, kind of ensuring that you don't have certain powerful vassals actually, going up against you in factions. But anyway, this video wasn't about that. Alliances, typically you have to marry. You marry into for alliances. You can actually filter. It's actually a really good way of finding alliances. Let's see if we can find a child, which is, there we go. Find a spouse. And again, when it comes to daughters, you want to go matrimonious marriage, but let's look at here, and we can go for alliance power. We'll filter it for the most powerful alliance that we're able to get with this marriage. And this one gets us an alliance with almost 7,000 troops. So it's actually very respectable. I'm surprised we found one. Sorry about that. Quite so good. But that's how you basically make an alliance. It's so simple. There is another way you can do it through perks in lifestyle, and you don't actually have to get married in order to do it. It does take a little minute. You are going to need 2 different perks in order to get it, but defensive negotiations allows you to create those alliances without getting married. So you just have to have, a decent opinion modifier with whoever it is you are trying to get an alliance with. Very quickly, if we have a look, I believe it's this guy here. You can also create alliances with family members that are in different kingdoms. So if getting married is an option, having that perk, without marriage is another option, but also creating alliances with family members is another great way. Now, he isn't actually a family member, but he is married to one of my children, meaning that that's another reason why I'm able to make make an alliance with this Sultan, giving me, another good alliance. This guy has 8,000 troops, for instance. He could have actually been the one I just married into as well. But yeah, so they're the different ways that you're able to make alliances. As you can see, this empire here, he's actually a dynasty member. And again, dynasty members are another good way of bringing in extra alliances. You've also got house members, another good way of bringing in alliances. If we actually go into a quick little war, we can have a little look-see at what that would look like. Declare war, your claims, and as you can see, it brings up the military strength. Now obviously we vastly outpower them, but I do think it's interesting that you can actually click on the allies that you have. You can see what kind of troops they are bringing in, and you can see in this case the ally that they have is only 500 troops strong, so the target is around 1,500 troops in strength. And you can look at our own alliances, and you can see who's bringing in what and who possibly we would want to call in for support if we want, to even call in an ally. Right now, we obviously don't need to. But if we declare that war and then click on hints, you can actually see who we would want to bring in to aid us. As you can see right here, you can call your house member to just pop in. Now, when you call in a house member, it doesn't actually cost you any prestige, which is pretty cool. It's pretty helpful to call in house members. Let's go back into that again. And as you can see, you can have a list of the different allies that you've made, probably through marriage, maybe with your perk. And depending on the rank of the person you're trying to bring in, it depends on how much it costs you. For instance, for a king, it's going to cost me 350 prestige in order to bring him in. I believe if it was an empire I was bringing in, it would cost me 750 prestige as well. If it was lower than a king, I believe it's 150. And I think the cheapest prestige it costs is 75. Either way, you're going to need a lot of prestige if you've got a lot of allies. And keep in mind, you don't necessarily need to bring in all of your allies either. I think it's also very interesting to note, actually, that if we had a defensive war going on right now, let's say for argument's sake, this nation decided to attack us, it's absolutely free to ask allies to aid you in war. You do not need to have prestige for a defensive wars at all. So even if you don't plan on, call in your allies to help you because, you're like, well, I don't have the prestige, just getting that alliance means that when it comes to defending yourself, you've got that extra firepower. Actually, it's really interesting because something I tend to do quite often is I will use my allies to actually fight all of my faction wars for me. Every now and again, being an empire this big, I'm going to have lots of factions popping up. And I use my alliances to kind of act as peacekeepers, act as my in-round police. Whenever one of these factions pops up, they pop up with quite a few troops these days. But I just call in allies. Call in the allies. It doesn't cost me anything whatsoever because it's defensive. Let the allies defeat them. Normally, I don't even have to ever look at that ever again because it's kind of, done and dusted, especially with the amount of, alliance power I have. Every now and again, I may need to help out. I think early game especially, I've had to manage that quite well because if I've got troops raised, 9 times out of 10, the allies will come to my troops wherever they are on the field. So again, that's something to keep in mind, but I tend to just leave my alliances to handle those faction wars, and it's really, really helpful as well. Also, something else really quick to note is when you are attacking somebody, I unfortunately don't have an occasion I can show you here, but when you're attacking someone that's stronger than you, they might not be stronger than you. So what I would recommend is looking at exactly what they have exactly, what they have in alliance power, in troop power themselves. For this guy, he has no allies, but he does have 3,800 troops. Let's pretend he had 10,000. Okay, let's pretend he had an alliance and it was reading 10,000. Well, his troops would be the 3,800, with the alliance power coming in to top that up. Your job then would be to actually find that alliance. For instance, this is my most strongest ally right now. Find them on a map. Find them on the map and see where they are and if they're close enough to the battle. Because if you're able to, for instance, let's say I wanted to attack this part of Devon, but Devon had these guys as an alliance. Well, that's quite a distance, isn't it? That's quite a distance that ally would have to travel. The troops can't just teleport in that county. So if I'm able to get in and attack quickly and take out their castle, win the war before the allies even come in, then I never even need to worry about them. The other thing is just because when you start a war, it says they have allies, it doesn't mean they're going to call upon the allies. So have a think about that too. Also, when you're at war, I would suggest keeping an eye on this kind of marker, because it will tell you how many troops are about. If we see right now, currently, neither one of us have any allies in this battle. We remember seeing that this guy had those 1,500 troops, and that's exactly what's in this battle, just his troops. He has no allies. In fact, it even says down here he has no allies. So you keep an eye on your war score, because it would tell you if the enemy has, one, called allies, or two, even gained allies, because that is another thing to think about. They can gain allies while at war, so have a little look-see at that. What's also a really good idea to think about when it goes to war and wondering if your alliance is strong enough to win the war is the fact how much money they have, because of course they can call in mercenaries the same as you too. This duke, for instance, has 367 gold, so he has more than enough to call in a few extra mercenaries if he wanted to. In this case, he's in a losing battle. He will lose this war regardless of anything he does. But in general, I believe there are a few things to keep an eye out for. Dynasty members, house members, they're kind of free allies that you can gain throughout your playthrough. They do obviously take a long time to get. I'm very lucky in this playthrough. I have, quite strong dynasty members. I believe these guys are dynasty, and possibly not them. These guys are also dynasty members. So I've got quite a lot of different types of allies that I can bring in. You guys may not have that. You will have eventually. Hopefully this has answered a few things about alliances, a few questions you might have had. I do think alliances are something that go under the radar. You may think, oh, I don't want to make alliances because of this reason, that reason. Honestly, it's better to have them and not need them than need them and not have them. I think that's a good way to say it. One of the downfalls to alliances I haven't spoken about is that you will get called in to go to war quite often. It could be defensive, it could be them attacking. What I would recommend to you is, say you're going to go ahead and help them regardless of whether you actually intend to or not. Because if you straight up deny them, you're going to lose fame. You're going to lose out and get debuffs, and that can suck. In my opinion, what I've kind of found throughout my playthroughs is that 7 out of 10 times I never really need to help my allies. Obviously, if they're losing, they're losing. Maybe it's best you're not in it in the first place. But even if you go in, capture one castle, compete in one war, that still counts towards the war score. Any points towards the war score, it's basically your obligations completed. I tend to get quite lucky. And my allies tend to win out without me ever really needing to step in. However, it can be a good thing as well, getting called into war all the time, especially if you happen to be a nation, you've got little claims, you've got no real options to capture more land. Sometimes coming in and helping one of your allies in a war, conquering a castle, capturing some land, winning some battles, means you can take prisoners, means you can get, you know, spoils of war from castles that you've captured for your ally as well. So it gets you extra money, gets you extra ways to bring in claims to your to yourself as well, so you can expand your empire. But yeah, hopefully I have covered everything and spoken about everything clearly enough. If I've missed anything, please just pop it down in the comments. Sometimes it's difficult um, to kind of plan out exactly everything there is to say, because there is so much to go through when it comes to Crusader Kings. In fact, an important note that just popped into my head is that alliances are for your lifetime. So let's say, for instance, I make an alliance right now. If the person I make an alliance with dies or I die, well, that alliance that I kind of had an agreement for, that's done now because I'm no longer alive to honor my side of that alliance. So when it comes to having a brand new heir, I will have to make a brand new alliance. So it's definitely something to keep in mind, because obviously, you know, this is a huge game. You play for 600 years potentially, and you're going to be going through a lot of succession. So when succession happens, typically that is when you're going to be at your absolute weakest. So keep that in mind. If it happens to you, your character you're playing has died suddenly and you inherit your realm, make sure you pause your game. And before you unpause your game, look around for those all important alliances, because everything you had previous would now be gone. Obviously, you still have the family alliances, you still have the dynasty alliances that you can call on, and the house alliances that you can call on, but just have a check around and see what's actually available, to make sure you're not unpausing a game and going into the game and all of a sudden you're being attacked by left, right, and center because suddenly you are a weakened target. But guys, I think that is it for this video. Hopefully I have touched on everything enough. Like I said, Crusader Kings 3 is a absolutely massive game, so if I've missed anything, just let me know down in the comments. I will do my best to answer you, make a new video, whatever need be, to get it done. And don't forget, if you have enjoyed this video and want to see more Crusader Kings content, don't forget to hit that like button and of course subscribe to the channel. I cannot tell you how much it actually helps to have you hit that subscribe button and hit that like button. All those good interactions are super. Also, I've mentioned in many videos that we do have that Discord. Of course, the link for that is in the description. There is also a Crusader Kings Facebook group as well, which I've recently become admin of. And so for anyone that doesn't have Discord, that maybe they want to join the Facebook group, I'll try and put the link down in the description for that as well. But until next time, I've been a monk, we've been a Critically Clueless, and I will see you in the next video real soon. Until then, as always, take it easy and happy gaming.